habitées depuis toujours par des peuples autochtones. Comme membres d'un peuple colonisateur, nous sommes reconnaissants d'avoir la possibilité de nous réunir ici et nous remercions toutes les générations qui, depuis des milliers d'années, se sont occupées de cette terre. Bien avant notre rencontre aujourd'hui, les Autochtones étaient des gardiens de ces terres. Plus particulièrement, nous reconnaissons les territoires Anishinaabe, Atiwandaronk et Haudenosaunee. Before our first speaker comes to talk to you, I would like to introduce you to the panel of speakers as well as partner agencies who are here to represent their agencies. Avant que notre premier orateur vienne vous parler, je voudrais vous présenter le groupe de conférenciers ainsi que les agences partenaires qui sont ici pour représenter leur agence. RCMP Director of Financial Crime for Federal Policing, Superintendent Peter Payne. Surintendant Peter Payne, directeur de la section qui s'occupe de la criminalité financière au sein de la police fédérale. RCMP Officer in charge of Greater Toronto Area, Toronto West Detachment, Financial Crime, Inspector Jim Ogden. Inspecteur Jim Ogden, officier responsable du groupe de la criminalité financière de la région du Grand Toronto, détachement de Toronto. Sergeant Guy Palarocque from the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. Sergeant Guy Palarocque de la Centre Anti-Fraude du Canada. Corporal Sam Ishmael, former RCMP Liaison Officer to India. Caporal Sam Ishmael, ancien officier de liaison de la GRC en Inde. Anna Guida from the Canada Border Services Agency, Agence des services frontaliers du Canada, Anna Guida. Paul Murphy from the Canada Revenue Agency, Agence du Revenu Canada. And Staff Sergeant Ken Diraction, Team Commander for Project Octavia. Sergeant d'État-Major Sergeant d'État-Major Ken Diraction, commandant d'équipe pour Projet Octavia. Now I'd like to call upon Superintendent Peter Payne to the podium to speak to the RCMP efforts to combat the CRA and other scams. J'aimerais maintenant faire appel à Surintendant Peter Payne du podium pour parler des efforts de la GRC pour combattre l'escroquerie de l'ARC et d'autres escroqueries. Sir, Monsieur.
Thank you, Sergeant Herman. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your presence here today. We have an important announcement regarding recent developments and significant disruption efforts resulting from our investigation into the infamous Canada Revenue Agency telemarketing tax scam. For anyone unaware, this particular scam occurs over the phone, by email, or by text message. A caller or sender, commonly from India, posing as an agent from the CRA, attempts to gather personal information or intimidate a victim into providing financial payment. Too many of our fellow Canadians have fallen victim to this scam and unfortunately lost their hard-earned dough. Plenty more have been affected, not to mention bothered and harassed. It's true this incessant trickery has pervaded too long, but we continue to fight back and we're making progress. The RCMP takes threats to our economic integrity very seriously and has been engaged in ongoing complex investigations since reports of the CRA scam have increased and financial losses began. We built collaborative efforts and working relationships with Indian authorities and other international partners to identify mass marketing fraud call centers that perpetuate the scam and others. In 2008, as reports of financial losses started to spike, we recognized this harmful scam was affecting everyone in Canada with a cell phone, a landline, or internet connection. Something more had to be done. Under the project name Octavia, and led by the RCMP Greater Toronto Area Financial Crime Section, we grew our investigative capacity to national in scope, with investigative points of contact in every RCMP division and connections to police throughout Ontario. Our RCMP liaison officer in India became more heavily engaged in working with our Indian authorities and U.S. authorities there. We've since seen successes in disruption and takedown of illegal call centers in India and arrests and charges in our own country. Reported losses to CRA scam in 2019 went down significantly, most likely thanks to these efforts. We'll get into the specifics and details of a recent disruption and enforcement efforts shortly, but first I'd like to emphasize how public awareness is key strategy in preventing the victimization of Canadians and combating fraud. The RCMP works closely with government and domestic and international law enforcement partners to raise awareness, share best practices of these types of crimes. We are a joint operator of the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, who routinely issues educational bulletins, provides scam alerts, and has developed partnerships with financial institutions, telephone companies, and courier companies. We and our partners are working hard to help increase awareness and vigilance and need you to help spread the word too. No one is immune to fraud, but you can protect yourself and others by learning how to recognize, reject, and report it. Remember, if someone on the phone is asking for your personal or banking information, hang up and report the activity to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. If the caller is threatening you or your family, hang up and contact the local police. If you receive an email or text message making suspicious tax claims and urging you to click on a link to submit information, don't interact and report the occurrence to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. I'll now turn the mic back over to Sergeant Herman. Thank you.
Nous avons une annonce importante à faire sur les faits récents et les efforts considérables de perturbation dans le cadre de l'enquête que nous menons sur une arnaque tristement célèbre, celle où des escrocs se font passer pour des agents de l'Agence du revenu du Canada. Pour ceux qui l'ignoraient, cette arnaque est perpétuée par téléphone, courriel ou texto. L'appelant ou l'expéditeur, qui se trouve le plus souvent en Inde, se fait passer pour un agent de l'Agence du revenu du Canada et tente d'obtenir des renseignements personnels ou d'intimider la victime jusqu'à ce qu'elle fasse un paiement. Un trop grand nombre de nos compatriotes ont été victimes de ces fraudeurs et ont malheureusement perdu de l'argent durement gagné. Beaucoup d'autres ont été touchés, dérangés ou harcelés. Les escrocs sévissent depuis trop longtemps, mais nous continuons de lutter contre eux et nous faisons des progrès. La GRC prend les menaces à notre intégrité économique très au sérieux et elle mène des enquêtes complexes depuis que le nombre de signalements par des victimes de l'escroquerie liée à l'ARC a augmenté et il y a eu des pertes financières. Nous avons instauré une collaboration et des relations de travail avec les autorités indiennes et d'autres partenaires internationaux pour repérer les centres de télémarketing en masse frauduleux et perpétuent cette escroquerie et d'autres arnaques. En 2018, lorsque le nombre de signalements de pertes financières a commencé à progresser, nous avons compris que cette escroquerie pouvait toucher chaque personne possédant un téléphone cellulaire, un téléphone filaire ou une connexion à Internet et qu'il fallait faire plus. Sous le nom de projet Octavia et sous la direction de la section de la criminalité financière de la région du Grand Toronto, nous avons augmenté notre capacité d'enquête à l'échelle nationale. Nous avons des personnes ressources pour les enquêtes dans chaque division de la GRC et nous assurons la liaison avec les services de police en Ontario. Notre agent de liaison en Inde travaille maintenant et de très près avec les autorités indiennes et américaines sur place. Depuis, des centres d'appel illégaux ont été perturbés ou démantelés en Inde et il y a eu des arrestations et de mises en accusation ici même au Canada. Les pertes causées par cette fraude ont diminué considérablement en 2019, font probablement grâce à ces efforts. Nous vous donnerons sous peu des détails sur nos récents efforts de perturbation et de répression. J'aimerais d'abord souligner à quel point la sensibilisation du public est essentielle pour réduire le nombre de victimes canadiennes et lutter contre la fraude. La GRC travaille en étroite collaboration avec le gouvernement et des partenaires d'exécution de la loi canadienne et internationaux pour sensibiliser les gens et mettre en commun les pratiques exemplaires pour combattre des crimes. La GRC est l'un des congestionnaires de centres antifraude du Canada qui publie régulièrement les bulletins pédagogiques et des alertes à la fraude et qui met en place des partenariats avec des institutions financières, des compagnies de téléphone et des entreprises de messagerie. Nos partenaires et nous travaillons d'arrache-pied afin d'informer la population et d'accroître la vigilance et nous avons besoin de vous pour relayer l'information. Personne n'est à l'abri de la fraude, mais on peut se protéger et protéger les autres en apprenant à reconnaître, à rejeter et souligner la fraude. Voici un rappel. Si on vous demande de fournir des renseignements personnels ou bancaires par téléphone, raccrochez et signalez l'incident au Centre antifraude du Canada. Si l'appelant vous menace, vous ou votre famille, raccrochez et communiquez avec la police. Si vous recevez un courriel ou un texto qui fait notamment des références douteuses à votre situation fiscale et dans laquelle on vous demande de cliquer sur un lien pour envoyer de l'information, ne répondez pas et signalez l'incident au Centre antifraude du Canada. Now I'd like to ask Inspector Jim Ogden to share information on arrests that took place this past Wednesday. J'aimerais maintenant faire appel à l'inspecteur Jim Ogden pour partager des renseignements concernant le nombre d'arrestations qui ont été faites mercredi passé. Sir?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Sergeant Herman. In October 2018, the RCMP Greater Toronto Area Financial Crime Section commenced an investigation named Project Octavia. The focus of the investigation was to combat the Canada Revenue Agency telemarketing tax scam, better known as the CRA scam. The scam involves callers identifying themselves as CRA, RCMP, or other federal government agencies, and then intimidating victims into paying non-existent fines or taxes. The CRA scam, which is operating out of India, has been targeting the Canadian public since 2014. And despite a number of police raids on illegal call centers in India, it continues to victimize Canadians. Cumulatively, between 2014 and 2019, the CRA scam has resulted in reported victim losses totaling over $17.2 million. The scam has caused fear due to the threat of arrest by the fraudsters who claim to be from various Canadian government agencies. This has meant that Canadians are wary and suspicious even when CRA is attempting legitimate contact with them. RCMP investigators have uncovered money mules or money mule managers operating in Canada who assist with laundering of funds obtained through the CRA scam and other scams. This money mule network operates across various provinces in Canada with connections to illegal call centers in India who are receiving the proceeds of the scams. On Wednesday, February the 12th, Project Octavia investigators arrested and charged 2 people in connection to these transnational scams, including the CRA scam, the bank investigator scam, and the tech support scam. Gurinder Preet Dhaliwal, I'll spell the last name, Dhaliwal, 37 years of age, from Brampton, Ontario, and Inderpreet Dhaliwal, I'll spell the last name again, Dhaliwal, 36 years of age, also from Brampton, are charged with the following criminal offenses. 1 count of fraud over $5,000, 1 count of laundering the proceeds of crime, and 1 count of property obtained by crime. In addition to this, a Canada-wide arrest warrant has been issued to Santanu Manik, I'll spell the last name, M-A-N-I-K, 26 years of age, who is a foreign national believed to be in India. Further arrests and charges may result from this investigation. We remain steadfast in our pursuit. The arrest of Canadian-based co-conspirators is significant. We have disrupted the necessary flow of money from Canada to India, which will have a big impact on the operation and the bottom line of the scammers. We know that the efforts of the RCMP the efforts that we put into combating the scam has had an impact. In 2018, reported losses to the scam totaled $6.4 million. Since October 2018, when Project Octavia efforts began, including a robust public awareness and prevention campaign, the takedown of 39 illegal call centers in Noida and New Delhi areas within India, and enforcement activities here, these arrests and charges, those reported losses to the CRA scam in 2019 were down significantly to $1.4 million. As a result of our investigational efforts, I would like to thank the following for their assistance in the successful outcome of Project Octavia: the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, RCMP Criminal Intelligence Analysts, the RCMP Liaison Officer in India, also investigational points of contact in all divisions of the RCMP. I'd also like to thank federal agency partners, including Canada Revenue Agency and Canada Border Services Agency. That also includes FinTrack. Foreign authorities, including the Indian Central Bureau of Investigation and U.S. authorities that are based in India, also receive our thanks. Provincial and municipal police agencies throughout Canada also deserve our thanks. Finally, we would like to thank all Canadians who were unfortunate victims in this scam and who took the initiative to report it to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. It is only through reporting that we can determine the extent of the scams and gain important information and intelligence that helps us identify and arrest these fraudsters. I can assure you that the RCMP will continue to fulfill its mandate of pursuing criminality that threatens Canada's economic integrity, with our resources focused on operations where there is a nexus to transnational organized crime. Thank you.
En octobre 2018, la section de criminalité financière de la région de Grand Toronto a lancé une enquête appelée Projet Octavia. Cette enquête visait à lutter contre une arnaque de télémarketing concernant les impôts généralement appelés fraude liée à l'ARC. Cette arnaque consiste pour des personnes à se faire passer au téléphone pour des représentants de l'ARC, de la GRC ou d'autres organismes fédéraux, et faire peur à leurs victimes pour les faire payer des prétendues amendes ou taxes. Ce type de fraude orchestrée en Inde vise des Canadiens depuis 2014 et se poursuit d'aujourd'hui malgré plusieurs descentes policières dans des centres d'appel illégaux en Inde. De 2014 à 2019, les victimes ont perdu en tout plus de 17,2 millions de dollars à cause de ce type de fraude. Elles vivent aussi dans la peur car les arnaqueurs en soi-disant représentants des autorités canadiennes menacent de les arrêter. Aujourd'hui, les Canadiens sont leur garde, voire méfiants, quand c'est bel et bien l'ARC qui tente de les contacter. Les enquêteurs de la GRC ont découvert que les porteurs d'argent, ou mules, et des gestionnaires de mules opéraient au pays pour blanchir les fonds générés par la fraude liée à l'ARC et d'autres anarques. Ce réseau de porteurs d'argent s'étend dans plusieurs provinces du Canada, avec des connexions à des centres d'appel illégaux en Inde où sont envoyés les bénéfices. Mercredi, le 12 février, les enquêteurs travaillaient sur le projet Activia ont arrêté et inculpé 2 personnes impliquées dans des fraudes transnationales, la fraude liée à l'ARC, mais aussi la fraude aux compteurs bancaires et la fraude au soutien technique. Gurenderpreet Dhaliwal, D-H-A-L-I-W-A-L, 37 ans, de Brampton, Ontario, et Inderpreet Dhaliwal, D-H-A-I-L-W-A-L, 36 ans, aussi de Brampton, sont accusés des infractions du Code criminel suivantes. Un chef d'accusation de fraude dépassant 5 000 $, un chef d'accusation recyclage des produits de la criminalité, un chef d'accusation bien obtenu criminellement. En outre, un mandat d'arrêt pan-canadien a été lancé contre Shantanu Manik, M-A-N-I-K, 26 ans. L'individu est probablement étranger qui vit en Inde. D'autres arrestations et accusations pourraient résulter de cette enquête. L'arrestation de complices du Canada marque un tournant car cette porte atteint à la voie de foi du Canada vers l'Inde, ce qui aura des indices notables sur les activités et les bénéfices des fraudeurs. La GRC sait que les efforts qu'elle a déployés pour lutter contre la fraude liée à l'ARC ont déjà eu des répercussions. En 2018, les Canadiens ont perdu plus de 6,4 millions de dollars dans cette fraude. Ensuite, le projet Activia a démarré en octobre 2018, ce qui s'est traduit une campagne énergique de sensibilisation et de prévention, la fermeture de 39 centres d'appel illégaux dans les régions de Noida et New Delhi en Inde et des activités de maintien de l'ordre, c'est-à-dire des arrestations et inculpations ici au Canada. En 2019, le montant des pertes attribuables à la fraude liée à l'ARC a considérablement diminué pour s'établir à 1,4 million de dollars. J'aimerais remercier les personnes des organismes suivants dont l'appui a contribué au succès du projet Activia, le Centre antifraude du Canada, les analyses de renseignement criminels de la GRC, l'agent de liaison de la GRC en Inde, l'agent de la liaison de la GRC en Inde, les points de contact pour cette enquête dans toutes les divisions de la GRC, les organismes fédéraux partenaires, notamment l'Agence de revenus du Canada, l'Agence de services frontaliers du Canada et le CANAF, les services étrangers, notamment le Central Bureau of Investigations de l'Inde, et les représentants des autorités américaines dans ces pays, les services de police provinciaux et municipaux de tout le Canada. Enfin, j'aimerais remercier toutes les victimes canadiennes de ce type d'arnaque qui ont pris la peine de signaler au Centre antifraude du Canada. Sans ce signalement, il est impossible de connaître l'envergure de la fraude et d'obtenir des informations utiles pour identifier et arrêter les auteurs. Je vous rassure que la GRC continue de remplir sa mission de lutte contre la criminalité qui menace l'intégrité économique et de se concentrer des ressources sur les opérations liées au crime organisé transnational. We will now open the floor for some questions. Nous allons maintenant passer aux questions.
The two people arrested, are they related at all?
Before we continue.
The two people that I spoke about that are both from Brampton are husband and wife.
Colin Freeze, the Globe and Mail. Can you explain why do they need mules in Canada? Money moves electronically these days. So what was the role of the mules specifically that you're alleging?
The roles of the mules was to receive packages that contained cash, Canadian cash, and then forward the contents of that package as instructed to do so, and thereby money laundering and sending the funds somewhere else.
Okay, just supplemental. It strikes me in a Canada-wide scam there could be more mules out there. You have two in custody and an arrest warrant for a third. Are there in fact more mules out there, and if so, why are you winding down Project Octavia at this juncture?
Let me be clear, we're not winding down Project Octavia.
Okay.
We still have others that we are pursuing, and those that have come forward as money mules, in some cases what we have done is we've taken statements from them. If they have been here on student visas or something like that, then we also refer their names to Canada Border Services Agency for their action, which may mean pulling the student visas and deporting them back to whatever country they had come from.
Last question. There was a report last month that the RCMP division is rolling up its financial crimes unit. I'm just wondering if that's true, if your jobs are changing, and if so, what does that mean for the prosecution and investigation of crimes such as these?
We'll refer this to Superintendent Don Helena.
Good afternoon. I can assure you that we are not stopping financial crime investigations within Ontario. What has been reported, to clarify, is we're actually restructuring our structure within the RCMP within Ontario to merge our financial crime investigators with our serious and organized crime investigators. We're looking for efficiencies, looking for mechanisms to improve our way of doing business, especially as it relates to transnational organized crime. So I can assure you that we're not stopping doing financial crime. If anything, we hope to even become better at doing it.
Sean O'Shea, reporter with Global News in Toronto. For either the superintendent or the inspector, you're having a big press conference here and you're announcing 2 arrests. What kind of a dent are you saying that these arrests are going to put into what is a significant multi-million-dollar problem? Is this it, or is this a significant part of it? Could you clarify that, please?
It's not it. It is what we've done, to be clear, is significant in that when we started our investigation, we had intended on educating the public awareness, prevention, those sorts of things, as well as utilizing information and intelligence from the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre, and then informing our LO in India to allow him to work with Indian authorities, the Central Bureau of Investigation there, as well as U.S. authorities that are based in India, to disrupt and take down some of these illegal call centers. What we had hoped to do was be able to stop anything that was happening here in Canada, and this is a big step that we've been able to take to actually find Canadians that are involved as money mules or money mule managers and forwarding the scheme. And so to be clear, when I had said earlier that in 2018 it was 6.4 million in the CRA scam, I believe that we've made a dent because that number went down to 1.4 million for 2019. Certainly they evolve the scam and try other ones, but it's through that education piece, and one of the things that Superintendent Payne had spoken about, we're hoping that we can continue to inform Canadians and educate Canadians so that they don't fall victim to these scams.
Follow-up, what percentage are you alleging that this husband and wife in Brampton were responsible for when it comes to the CRA scam? You also alluded to the bank inspector scam and the tech repair scam.
I don't have that information to provide you with.
And a final supplementary, Are Canadians still going to get these phone calls as a result of your arrests and your action so far?
I would like to say that they would not get those phone calls, but I expect that they will continue. As I had just said earlier, they continue to evolve the scam. You're certainly, if you've got a cell phone, a landline, you're getting calls essentially related to the Service Canada scam and the SIN number scam. We're doing our best to do whatever we can to stop it, and our efforts will continue.
It seems as though, I think there were 5 charges to each person arrested.
3 charges to each person
okay, sorry,
arrested.
3 charges. It seems like a low number or low amount of charges considering the amount of money involved and the number of victims. Can you clarify why?
I certainly can. So certainly you could choose to charge each individual with separate counts. These are global counts or global charges to cover off everything that we're alleging that they have done.
Hi, Natalie Nanowski with CBC. So CBC actually did an investigation into the CRA scam and found that there were about 60,000 Canadians who complained. A lot of these actually gave money, and you said that it was $17.2 million over a course of 5 years. What is the RCMP doing to recoup that money? Because my understanding is a lot of these people gave away life savings.
Correct. Unfortunately, we're not able to recoup those funds. I can tell you, though, in some cases, I had spoken earlier about money mules that were here in Canada that were either willing or unintentional participants. With some of those, we were actually able to get some victims' money back and repay them. That doesn't happen. It's not a high percentage, of course. But I go back to what I'd said earlier and just educating the public as best as we can to stop, to hang up, to do what Peter had said earlier, recognize, reject, hang up, and then report.
Have any of those money mules been arrested or charged, and if not, how come?
Some money mules have not been charged. The reason for that would be to further whether or not we had enough evidence to actually charge them, but also we gained valuable information from them that we were able to use for our investigation. In those cases, some of those cases, we have referred their names to CBSA so that they may be, deported or student visas canceled, things like that.
The couple charged here, can you give us a few examples of some of the things that they were doing here on the ground and how they were sort of running this network?
I'll do as much as I can without affecting the charges that we've laid on those particular individuals. But essentially what was happening was victims were receiving phone calls from the Indian call center, and they would be directed to send money in envelopes and then have it couriered to a particular address and a name that they had been given. Those names and addresses ended up being those that have been charged. And so that's essentially the process that they've utilized. I was going to do this later, but you can see there's a chart over to my right up against the wall that shows essentially Project Octavia's scam, the flow chart of the money as well as the information that goes back and forth from the call centers to the victim and then onward to the money mules.
Could you talk a little bit about the circumstances of the arrest here? How did you bring these people down?
We essentially attended at their locations and then made arrests as safely as we could, certainly with officer safety in mind. Although there was no concerns, we also want to make sure that we're protecting our officers when arrests are made. So it was at a particular work site for Mr. Dollywall. For Mrs. Dollywall, we called her and asked her to turn us to our detachment here across the street. and she did that.
And are all the items that are off to the side here, were these all seized as a result of these arrests?
Correct.
So the addresses that the people being scammed were sending, was it just to their home, or did they have like sort of drop points? Were they all the same address?
In some cases, it's drop points. In other cases, it's directly to their residence.
Would you describe this as a sophisticated system that they were using, or was it fairly rudimentary?
I think it's fairly rudimentary. Although the sophistication is essentially from all of the technology that has been created, the voice over internet protocol, the number spoofing, all of those things have certainly helped. The robocalling, all of that helps and provides some level of legitimacy to them calling victims and making them think that they're either CRA or the RCMP or other federal government agencies.
Does this relate to a prosecution that's just concluded in Texas? An individual named Patel who is alleged to run these things in India and has been prosecuted by the U.S. Department of Justice?
It does not directly relate, but the scam is similar.
Hi, sorry. Maliha Sheikh, City News. What was the total value of funds and goods taken from the couple charged?
As you'll see on the table to my right, there was $26,000 in Canadian cash that was seized. There was also a money counting machine that was seized. There were also packages that were used to receive victims' money that we have on the table over there. You'll also notice on the left-hand side there's jewelry that's on the table with an appraised value of $114,000.
So these are mules. They're not the kingpins, but they would get a cut. Basically, you're alleging of what the network in India would get.
We believe that to be the case. We're not entirely sure just what those percentages may be.
Can you talk about the call centers in India? I think a lot of people, when you hear call center, think of a big place with lots of going on. Were they that sophisticated, or are these just a few people sort of sitting around?
My understanding from some of those call centers, and it's from some of the same things that Canadians have seen on the CBC Marketplace episodes that have been aired, but they can be as small as 6 to 12 individuals that are working out of these particular call centers.
We've done a lot of stories on this issue. And could you comment, please, from your perspective, on the kinds of victims who are falling victim? A lot of people say, I'd never fall for that. How could somebody be so fill in the blank? What did you find through your investigation on the kind of victims who have fallen to this particular scam, as well as the bank inspector scam and the tech fix scam?
One of the things that was a bit of a surprise to me, I expected that it wouldn't be a cross-section of all Canadians. I expected that it might be seniors, new immigrants, things like that. But what we have certainly seen evidence of from the stats that we've received from the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre is that it goes across the board. So let's say you're a person who just hasn't paid their CRA debt that they may have incurred, or they haven't filed taxes. Then if they get a call from an Indian call center, they may think that that is a legitimate call. So it could be anyone from whether or not they be young or old.
You said earlier that the total amount lost was sort of $12.7 million over since 2014. Are you alleging that this couple is responsible for that entire amount, or are there other people out there who are doing the same sort of scams?
I'm certainly not alleging that this couple has done that. I think the number that I gave you for this CRA scam from 2014 onward was $17.2 million. When we look at the bank investigator scam as well as the tech scam, those numbers climb from 2014 up to $31 million. Yes, there's many others that are doing this.
Do the current criminal penalties that apply here provide enough of a disincentive to organized crime that would undertake exactly what we're talking about here?
I certainly hope so. The penalty for fraud over $5,000 is 14 years imprisonment. For the other two charges that I had mentioned, it's 10 years imprisonment.
Do either of the accused have a criminal record?
Not to my knowledge.
You mentioned there's an arrest warrant out for an Indian national. What's the likelihood? Do you have any expectation that that person might be brought to justice one day?
My hope is that that would happen. One of the things that we can do is request a red notice, which is essentially an international arrest warrant, and then provide that information to the Indian authorities and ask them to locate, arrest, and we would then extradite this person back to Canada to face the charges.
But India's not going to extradite one of its own people to Canada?
For extraditions, we would pay the cost for those things. So it would depend of whether or not there was a red notice and whether we would go ahead with that. It's not our decision, it would be the decision of the Crown.
Okay, that will conclude our interviews for now. We'll move on to the one-on-one interviews. Merci d'être venu. Nous allons continuer avec des entrevues. Merci. You just go and who you want to talk to.
If you haven't been over